This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, what's up?
Gotta hate that.
Finger gunless this week, though.
Yeah, well, we don't have the video on
But
this
just
time.
to let you guys know, he did not put up the finger gun.
He did not, but he still said the douchiest thing that has ever been said is, what's up, what's up?
Nah, that's how I started. What's up, what's up?
Well, we know how you started. You've been starting it for a while now.
Shout out to Ben, my chief advisor of What's Up Nation.
I want to go back and see the first time that you actually did that. Do we know when the first podcast was when you did that?
No, I don't. I've lost track.
All right,
it feels like it's been forever, which is a great feeling.
I don't think he's never not done it now.
It's felt like an eternity of just being in hell. Dave Oster,
and guess
how are
what?
you?
You got all season.
I'm surviving. The hype levels this season are just off the charts, though.
Dave has been freaking out in our group chat constantly about
I wish
the
there
NBA.
was I wish there was some more love, though. Like, unfortunately, we're in Chicago,
Well,
so we
Swanee,
do have the World Series going on right now. The Cubs,
Then you have two of us who are Cub fans.
two very hardcore Cubs fans. A couple others that are whatever fans, but
Swanee's a baseball guy first. Too.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they're literally the most boring games I've ever seen in my life.
Baseball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Dave's been freaking about
basketball ones
the NBA.
are fucking amazing. Like, there's no way around it. They are the most excited. Like, this is the most hyped I've been for the start of the season in a long time.
And that's different. I think I would agree with that too, just because you do have obviously the Warriors surrounding that.
It's different this year.
Yeah,
it really is.
I know some people are like, well, it's like, super teams kind of ruin the NBA, but I think it kind of makes it more fun because there's still a lot surrounding it, and maybe that's because it's been the most I've actually been paying attention going into a season and actually caring about it as much, because I've always been a fan of the NBA, but I've never been like actually analyzing it as much as we have because we've been doing this podcast for so long.
I'm in the same boat, man.
Well, and the point that I heard this week when they were talking, of course, when the Warriors lost, was they started saying, like, oh, Kevin Durant, is he coming over? Is it a waste? And I want to say it was on The Jump on ESPN. They brought up the point of you've got these super teams now because people look at LeBron and go, well, how do we beat him? We got to form a super team.
Well, yeah.
You can't form a regular team around yourself and beat the greatest player in basketball right now.
Well, that makes sense too, but also, I mean, I think the one thing that people freak out about is that it takes time for players to gel. I know how good they did look in the preseason, but then again, it wasn't like they were actually running their set offense. It wasn't like they were actually like running what they will run against actual NBA teams.
They were just all posting up on the three-point line and just taking shots.
They were having fun. They were getting loose. They were just making sure that they can still shoot properly, and they were just playing basketball. It wasn't like they were actually taking in strategy and all this. They were just playing basketball. It will take time for them to understand the offense and how one another works with each other. And that's kind of the biggest impression that I've taken around, is that people need to relax about the Warriors here. Is that this team, as much as people expect them to be good and talent-wise, they're the greatest team that we've ever probably seen assembled, at least from a talent standpoint. But it's still going to take them a while to adjust, because Steph Curry is still used to being the best scorer in the NBA. He's still used to taking, a ton of threes back there. KD is still used to being the guy. Klay Thompson's still used to being the second guy on the team. Now he's got to adjust to that. Draymond's still, he's going to have a taken back workload, and there's still a lot to be surrounding this team. And they finally did get their win against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, surprise there. But what I did like was the opening matchup. They went out against the Spurs. Pop clearly prepared his team well. They attacked them where the Warriors are weakest, which is on their front court. They have no real great defensive presence there anymore. Like, no discredit to Zaza. He's just not the same defensive guy that Bogut was. Bogut was a great rim protector, pretty good on the boards, and they were absolutely massacred there. The other thing about the Warriors is their bench depth, and they're doing these like mix and match, like two superstars on the court, two off kind of a thing, like to try to rest rotation. They need to work on that a little bit more. It's not quite flowing the right way yet. It still feels a little awkward. And again, you talked about time to gel. We saw that with the last super team in Miami, and I'm in the same boat.
Well, even took it with Cleveland too.
And Cleveland, okay, I'll give you that. And this team, they're not different. They need time. Just because they're all shooters, they still need time to gel, and they need someone to step up defensively.
I feel like a bad host because I haven't been able to say what we're actually talking about. We're going to be talking about the first impressions of the NBA season, and we're going to get into it. This is more of just chit chat right now, guys. We're just talking about the NBA.
Shooting the shit.
We're shooting the shit. But yeah, we're going to talk about first impressions of the NBA. Obviously, positive impressions and negative impressions. Then we're going to be talking about Anthony Davis. Definitely going to be in the positive impressions if we do talk about him. In the first segment, we're going to be talking about Anthony Davis and his time in New Orleans. More about, is he wasting his time in New Orleans? And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with the MVP discussion, because we haven't had that formally. We kind of talked about, will someone on the Warriors win it? But now we've seen a little bit of what we've seen from all these players and what they're doing in new situations. We'll talk about that.
We can overreact just as much as you guys can.
Exactly.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Especially if it's James Harden and Dave Oster.
Exactly. I mean, Dave is getting a lot of hate.
Bring it.
Dave's getting a lot of hate for his playoff standings.
I'm sorry, Rockets and Thunder.
Raptors and the Raptors. They hate
Fuck the Raptors. No one cares. Like it's Rockets and Thunder, and you guys are all hitting on me.
We
got a big Toronto, Canada contingency.
We
you want to watch
we still
them
love
out
you,
there.
Benji.
You should have made your team better in the offseason. You didn't.
That's the only thing that I had a gripe with, because someone on Twitter, I believe it was Miami. I forget who it was. But yeah, I think it was Franklin. It's really that the East just got better, and Toronto did not improve their team. The Pacers got better. The Celtics, obviously, having Horford got better. Cleveland's still Cleveland. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I have the Raptors falling. Dave may be taking it a little bit too far.
I don't know, maybe. Maybe I am, but at the same time, I want them to show me something. We saw DeMar DeRozan step up. He is clearly still doing great. He's not falling into that
number
pit.
2,
Hey,
Dave.
It's early in the season. It's time for overreactions.
I still think he's overrated.
And that's fine, but look, it's a trap for a lot of these guys when they get that payday, that they kind of take it easy going into the next season, and he is not, and that's good. He still has that fire, he still has that energy, but like we talk about their team, they just haven't improved enough to make that big of a difference. And a lot of teams in the East, like you said, made those changes. They brought in new guys, they rotated the crop, and they look better.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do want to say about DeMar DeRozan, I said he's overrated, and I'll still stick to that. But still, I mean, the first 2 games that he has had, I mean, impression-wise,
36 points.
If we're talking about that, 32 points, 40 points in the first game, and that first game was stupid, 63 from the field and 100% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
I mean, he played utterly fantastic outside of the 6 turnovers. So, I mean, DeMar DeRozan has been fantastic. Still think he's overrated.
Absolutely.
But impression-wise, though, what's the biggest ones that do stick out to you, whether it's a team or a player? Who is sticking out the most to you?
The Bulls.
Shocker.
It was one game.
It's one of those things where
God,
it wasn't like a, oh my God, we're gonna win it all kind of a reaction. It was just like a,
put on your Homer shirts.
it was like a, holy shit, this team doesn't look bad.
it was a game.
I know it was a game,
but it was a game against the Celtics
but
as well.
It was a game against the Celtics, so I thought it was they're
So you
my
got a
number
playoff
3
preview.
team.
Oh.
They're my number 3 team, and I mean the one thing
The
we all
Celtics
said,
are.
yeah,
The
the
Celtics,
Celtics.
okay. Just wanna
And
make sure
the
people
Bulls
don't
are
think it.
8. The Bulls are 8. The Bulls are 8.
Yeah.
But the one thing we all said was, oh, this team can't shoot the 3, and then Jimmy and D Wade come out 4 of 6 each from beyond the arc, and it was like one of those things where it's like, am I expecting that each and every game? Probably not. But for a first one, I was like, hot damn, this looks like a good team.
Uh-oh, somebody's been practicing.
Yeah, the team.
D-Wade,
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where the only thing I was kind of not really excited about was that Bobby Portis and Valentine didn't get to play. But of course, that's going to happen until Taj gets traded.
Well, Taj performed, so I don't know. I mean, he looks very good out there. I think it's still, the confidence is still with him. He's a veteran. He had a lot of energy. I know it was the first game of the season, so there's no reason you wouldn't bring the energy. Look, they did great out there. 3-point shooting was definitely a surprise. I think the only thing I'm disappointed in, 2 things. One, Rondo with his complete hatred of trying to score buckets for himself. Like he will
1 of 9, 4 points
Yeah.
overall.
He can't shoot, and we knew that, but like he's making some poor decisions by trying to force ball movement when it's not needed instead of taking the wide open shot. And the other one is the fact that they're not running enough sets to get great looks for their spot up shooters.
That's going to come
like
in time.
McBuckets, like Nicola, like they both need that, and I think that it's gonna. I agree with you. It's gonna come in time, but it's kind of hard with so many slashing players. It's great they're showing that they can do the threes, though.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was going to bring up is that Butler and Wade obviously had phenomenal nights from three-point land, but the one thing that I did want to mention is Mirotic is your shooter on that team. I mean,
and Dougie.
And Dougie too, but I mean, Mirotic got more minutes than McDermott, and you're going to rely on him more for the three-point shooting just because he'll be in the game more, but he still went for 1 for 6. Does it worry that, if D-Wade and Jimmy Butler go back to where they historically are in their career three-point shooting-wise, and Mirotic doesn't really pick that up, would that worry you that they will become one-dimensional, like we were saying, so much in the offseason.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, with this team, if we build off of what we had in Game 1, and another thing that I'm going to be interested to see in Game 2 is with D. Wade, did he have 22 points and go 4 of 6 because this was the homecoming? This was, you get a little bit more up for this game because you're coming back home for the first time to play as a Chicago Bull. Maybe that's why I'm looking at the second game for that. But on the other side of that matchup, the Celtics, the one thing I was looking at, and this was kind of a first impression with them, if they can't get rebounds against the Bulls, that's going to kill them all season.
Yeah, it was really disappointing to see the lack of effort around the rim. I don't disagree with you, but I think this team is really reliant on Isaiah. It's his incredible speed running up the court. His fast break is damn near untouchable.
I mean, he did go 10 of 15 in the game.
And, yeah, when he turns a corner on somebody, he has a clear lane no matter who it is.
Well, that's one thing that I think actually probably benefits the Celtics, because one thing we talked about was, can Isaiah Thomas continue what he did last year? And obviously, I mean, if he can keep this up, then they'll be fine, because I think it's more of, you got to get Horford back into the game. I mean, the players around him.
That's when they had their most success, was when they were running the court on the Bulls. It was that quick play that the Bulls trying to play up to Isaiah's game speed, and that's what almost lost them this game. So I think that him driving that team forward still, he knows he's the guy, even though they brought in Horford, they bring in, Jaylen Brown, who looked not so amazing in his rookie first debut. Thank you. Words
on,
are
Dave.
tough, man.
Come on.
So, no, it's on Isaiah, and I'm excited to see what goes on. And if he can force other teams to try to play up to his speed, this will be a successful Celtics team.
I mean, I just look at it, though. I mean, I know the Celtics have played a second game since then, but you get out-rebounded 55-36 against the Bulls, and then, they play the Nets, and, they won the rebounding margin, but it was only 47-44. So it was almost an even split. I think this team, that's the one thing early on they got to get better with, is just pulling in the rebounds, especially on the offensive side, to get some more second chance points.
All right, getting away from Boston and Chicago, Dave, what's a team that really stuck out to you, or a player that's really stuck out to you, in impression-wise, either good or bad?
I'm going to go positive. I'm going to go with the fan favorite of mine, James Harden.
I thought you were going to go Joel Embiid.
Oh, I was saving Embiid, but now that you bring him up, Joel Embiid is a fucking monster. The man has
he just
so
pushes
much
Harden right to the side. Get the fuck out of the way.
Look, I love Harden. We'll get to him
Just
later,
like
though.
OKC did.
Oh. Look, we'll get to him later, though. Look, Joel Embiid playing limited minutes, looks great. He was playing against Steven Adams in the opener, one of the toughest defenders in the league. And, he's earned his stripes through the last playoff push. So, he's legitimate. And Joel Embiid took the challenge. He went after Steven Adams, and he nailed down the outside shots. His footwork looked great. His decision-making is still pretty good. There's no reason to not love Embiid, although every time he hit the floor, I freaked out. I just held my breath.
You thought he was going to get injured?
Don't get hurt. But no, he is absolutely living up. And the fact that he can drop a 3, I mean, you got to respect that. Teams will over time, but I'm hyped for him.
Yeah,
I am hyped.
And one thing that's kind of stuck out to me is that, looking just at the whole conferences in large, it looks like the East will be, obviously, as it historically has been, very competitive. And you're looking at the teams right now. There's teams that are kind of slacking off right now. Indiana's out of the playoff picture. I know it's been 2 games.
Oh, come on.
But
they did
let's not look at playoff.
Still, again, I'm just saying it. Looking at the teams that are currently where they're at.
Yeah, disappointed. He is shooting awful and just shooting awful.
Well, that's the thing. Again, I'm not saying they're a super team, but teams that have so many new additions, they do have to gel. And I think that's the thing with Indiana. They're sitting at 1-1. They still need to gel. Teams like Washington, they've only played 1 game, but still, these teams need to gel. They still need to get going. But even I know Detroit lost to Toronto, and Toronto lost to the Cavs, and then the Cavs beat the Cavs beat the Knicks, and the Knicks look poor. But still, I think that the East is going to be very competitive, and that's what we're taking away from here.
Definitely.
And then the West, it's going to be, again, top heavy.
Technically, the Warriors are out of the playoffs, if we're going to throw that one out there.
It was just I'm looking at the standings right now, looking at all the
Jazz
records.
And the Lakers ahead of them out of the playoffs too.
The Lakers look impressive so far. I mean, you got to be excited
You're
for.
such a dick, Ricky. Anyways,
well, after that first game, I was excited about.
They looked
Lakers.
fantastic.
It was
D'Angelo
even
Russell looks,
Dave. It was even better because they did it against your James Harden. They did against the Rockets, and that's why I watched.
James Harden still had a phenomenal game.
No, I know, but I just liked
technically
it
Lakers
seeing
are out of the
James Harden
playoffs and-
lose because I feel like it's going to be a rivalry between me and
right
you
now,
this year.
right now, Rockets are out of the playoffs. Rockets are in the playoffs, and Lakers are out of the playoffs. So just throwing it out there.
But they're right there, 8-9, baby, 8-9.
Lakers are basically as far as D'Angelo can go. As long as he's hot, they're gonna keep winning games.
Yeah, because that second game was that's really what killed
he
him.
couldn't shoot for shit.
Yeah,
and it was a bad shooting night all around. So the big concern there, of course, would be Ingram gone with the injury, and it was one of those non-contact looks bad, and I hope it's not serious. But hopefully news will come out this week about it.
but that's one thing too. I mean, now we're talking about this. I mean, Ben Simmons, we haven't been able to touch upon that. He's out for I think an extended couple 6 to 8 weeks. Was that the timetable?
He's still a ways out.
Simmons is 6 to 8 weeks for his injury. I even think that they said that might go longer just to make sure he's fully healthy.
Right, because there's no rush.
Yeah, and then with Brandon Ingram going down, I mean that would be possibly detrimental if 1 and 2 both go down, at least for this rookie class and for those teams not knowing what they're going to have with these guys in place on their team. So that's something that I've been definitely taking away. And one final thing that I do want to take away, because we're not wrapping this up, but one thing that I just want to do throw out there is, fuck you, Magic fans. Your team looks like shit, and I told you they look like shit. And maybe down the road, they'll look a little bit better. But still, you have 10 players who are probably starters on NBA teams, but they're like you're probably 4th best player in that starting rotation. It just showed that this team is not good yet. Can they be good later down on the road? Maybe. Can they go 41-41? Possibly. But right now, this team looks like shit. So I was right.
And the one thing I want to throw out there just with the 2 injuries is Ben Simmons right now, no timetable on his return. However, as of today when we're recording this podcast, Luke Walton said that Brandon Ingram might play tomorrow, Sunday, against the OKC Thunder. He's not on the injury report.
Right. It's
so,
just,
I mean...
Still got to worry about it.
I mean, but the one thing, to touch your point, the Orlando Magic suck. But the thing I want to look at with Philadelphia is... It's interesting with them, and my first impressions with them is it was supposed to be since draft day, let's see Ben Simmons, let's see what he can do with this team. He's got the foot injury, and you see no timetable for the return on his broken foot. And it's one of those things where I go, maybe this season for the 76ers is, hey, man, get healthy, come back. Don't rush it because we're not going to be a team that's making a run anyways.
Right.
And, hey, it might help us if we can get higher in the lottery process to maybe get another first overall pick, hopefully.
I don't know how many.
And go ahead and just trust in the process.
Yeah.
But the good thing is you can see Embiid hopefully this season impress and go, hey, maybe we don't need Nerlens or Ja.
No, the problem right now with them is the fact that they do need all 3 because they can't hope that they'll all be healthy right now.
Someone's going to go down. Someone's going down.
Well, they've got Ja and
down.
Embiid on limited minutes. Nerlens is hurt right now. He ain't playing. He's got nothing. So, look, they need to continue to flesh out that situation. Right now, it looks like Embiid is the total package. He is, showing...
It's Hype City.
It's Hype City. There's nothing not to love about him. And he's even great at public speaking. Like, there's a guy who's good on the mic. He's good in the interviews. He is going to be their superstar of the city. I know Ben Simmons is the quiet guy. He's not that guy who's like out there and super public. So this is great for him. He doesn't have to worry about that. He's taking the back seat. He's injured. He's going to heal up. Like you said, there's no rush. I still think he's going to be back well in time for the season to get a lot of experience in because that's what he needs. He needs time on the court against professional level quality and to gel with them. Ja is the guy who I see being the short man out because, well, he is an offensive monster down low. He is still the expendable piece. Nerlens brings defense, and he has a level of intensity on the court, and the ball moves really well with him out there. So I think Ja is the one who, if all 3 of these guys are healthy at the trade deadline, we look to see Ja get moved.
Plus, I mean, you can look at Ja and look back to, what was it, last year when he got into that off-the-court trouble?
In Boston.
I mean, in Boston. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something where it's like, it didn't really affect him too much, but you look at that and go, if we're going to get rid of someone down the line, maybe it's the one person that got into some trouble off the court that we don't want.
One thing I want to touch upon is the San Antonio Spurs, 2-0 right now. Currently, when we're talking about
it, impressive.
Yeah,
been impressive.
Anyways, 2-0 right now. Obviously, beating the Warriors in the opener.
That was a statement.
And one thing I do want to say is before when we were doing all the playoff predictions and we're talking about the divisions, the rumors came out of LaMarcus Aldridge possibly being a trade piece for the Spurs and that it wasn't working out. I mean, with the way this team has started, and again, it's only been 2 games, so we can't really make too many rash judgments or decisions here, but
overreaction city, that's what we're all about.
Do you think that there should be any validity to those trade rumors?
Hell no.
Damn. All right.
Just outright, just crush them. Like, there's no point. This is a team that is doing great. This is Kawhi's team. This is not LaMarcus's team. And I think that...
Well, you say that, so then should they bring someone who fits more with Kawhi?
It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I don't know the value for LaMarcus right now. I don't know who they, piece-wise, what they could bring in, who's available to help complement Kawhi Leonard right now. Kawhi can... Jai. No. I think LaMarcus is... I think he's a better fit. Look, Kawhi can go up and down, play whatever position he wants to. He's phenomenal defensively. He's great offensively. He's sick behind the 3-point line. This guy has every tool it takes, and he's taken off this season. It seems like Pop is totally embracing him. My concern for this team is still the same. It's that backcourt. But if they're letting Kawhi handle the ball a little more, that kind of takes some pressure off.
Well, and that was the biggest knock we had in the offseason was, can he actually be a ball handler?
Right.
I remember us talking about that, whether it was in the playoff predictions or when we were just talking about their division. It was that, can Kawhi be a ball handler? And that's something that we haven't had him see. But obviously, in these first 2 games, he's been ridiculously good.
Absolutely.
And I mean, right now I'm looking. It was Zach Lowe from CBS Sports that was kind of putting out the exploration of the LaMarcus Aldridge trade. At this point, 2 games in the season, I know it's 2 games into the season.
Well, this was more off season.
Yeah.
This was before the season started.
And I mean, before the off season, look at what we had to base it on. Last year, they still had Timmy D, and it was Timmy D's team. Now they don't have Timmy D. And I saw in that first game against the Warriors, they did whatever they wanted. And that kind of presence down low and in the paint that they had manhandled the Warriors all game, and then turning defense into offense. And I think that this is something where you don't have to rush into anything. And I think that this is all going to work itself out. I mean, throughout the season, maybe at the trade deadline, if stuff's not working and you're like, you know what, LaMarcus Aldridge ain't the guy for us, then go ahead and make a trade. But right now, no, don't even think about trading LaMarcus Aldridge because you guys are 2-0, and I know it's only 2 games, but you're 2-0. You beat the best team from the NBA last year, although they didn't win the title.
Cleveland.
Regular season-wise, the record, they beat the best team in the NBA. Yeah, they didn't have all their players, but besides the point.
Don't mean to think without a
They
ring.
beat the best team from last year's NBA, and now they're on a roll.
All right. Debatable.